Hey everyone. So today we are going to finish the rest of our book that we've been reading, which is The Magic School Bus Electric Storm. So today we are starting off on chapter 7. And here we go. Everything got super bright and white hot. I was so glad we had those suits and goggles on for protection. We're really getting electric now, said Tim. This is it, the Frizz agreed. Once a streamer and I stepped leader meet, they form a path between the cloud and the ground. That lets a very powerful current of electrons travel back up to the cloud. The currents of electrons is so strong it releases tremendous amounts of heat and light, which we see as a bolt of lightning. A DA finished. And then right here is one of our little fact cards, cue cards. It says Lightning Packs a Lot of Power by Carlos. Electric current is measured in units called amperes, or amps for short. A lightning bolt is between 35,000 to 40,000 amps. Most houses use only about 200 amps. So that is a lot of electric. I couldn't see anything. We were moving so fast. We zoomed back up toward the cloud with all the other electrons. At least I think that's what was happening. With all that white hot heat and light around us, it was hard to know for sure. I'm afraid to look, said Arnold. Tell me when. Boom! An explosion shook the air around us. Let me tell you, it was more than just a loud noise. That noise was deafening. Let me guess, Arnold said through chattering teeth. That was thunder. Right again, Miss Frizzle answered. And then here we have another fact card. So I'll read that to you guys. What Makes Thunder by Ralphie. Lightning heats up the ground around it in an instant. The heat makes the air expand very fast. When the hot air hits the colder air around it, it makes a big noise. That's thunder. It's pretty cool to know. I shook my head until the ringing in my ear stopped. So, I said, lightning releases 3 kinds of energy: heat, light, and sound. I just want to know when it's going to release us, said Arnold. I want to get out of here. I definitely agreed, but for Miss Frizzle, riding a bolt of lightning was more fun than a supersonic whip at the amusement park. Woohoo! She shouted. Class, we're moving at the speed of lightning. That's 90,000 miles per second, in case you were wondering. DA punched some numbers into her pocket calculator, which is equal to 100 million feet per second, she added. So that's why we were traveling so fast. In a flash, we were back up at the bottom of the cloud. And then right here, this one says Phoebe's big question. So we'll see what her big question is. Question: why do we usually hear thunder after we see lightning? Answer: because light travels faster than sound. More than 1 million times faster. That means light from a bolt of lightning reaches us almost at once. Sound travels just 1/5 mile per second, so it takes longer to get to us. That's why a lot of times when you see a jet in the sky, you do not hear them until they have already passed over, because they are traveling faster than the sound. And then up here we have an actual fact card. So this one says, That's Hot by Keisha. The heat of lightning is more than 50,000 Fahrenheit, more than 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. That's insane. I never knew that. All right. Phew, I said. Finally, things slowed and cooled down enough for us to look around. Hey, we're all electrons on the same atom again, said Tim. I guess shooting down to Earth and back again had shaken up a lot of electrons. Sure enough, we were all zipping around. A single knot of protons and neutrons again. All of us except Charlie, that is. I still didn't see any sign of him, but I did see something else. The magic school bus, I shouted. There it was, resting among the electrons at the base of the thundercloud. Liz was at the wheel. She opened the door, but when we tried to get on the bus, we couldn't. The pull of our atom is holding us to in our orbit, DA said. We can't break free. Battle, 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 bad, bad. I didn't think things could get any worse, but then they did. Whoosh! A strong updraft swept our atoms, sending us flying high into the cloud. The magic school bus disappeared from the sight far below us. Again. I shouted. I should have known. It was just a matter of time before we started colliding with other atoms. Wham! Not again, Arnold groaned. Sure enough, we had hit another atom. One of its electrons broke free and began orbiting our atom. But it wasn't just any electron. Charlie Nimbus, we all cried. We all cheered as he zipped into orbit around our atom, still holding onto DA's notebook. I've been reading up on static electricity and electric storms, Charlie said, waving the notebook. Did you know that when electrons are transferred from one atom to another inside a cumulonimbus cloud, huge amounts of static electricity build up? Positive electric charges build up at the top of the cloud, and negative charges build up at the bottom. I have to admit, I was impressed. Charlie was starting to sound as if he really knew what he was talking about. Actually, we found that out for ourselves when we took an electrifying ride to the ground and back on a lightning bolt, DA said. Wow! Charlie's eyes went wide. I think I saw a different kind of lightning, he said. One that stayed inside the cloud. Wow! If it was inside the cloud, it must have been close, Wanda said. Arnold gulped and looked nervously around us. You mean there's more lightning around here? He asked. Oh, yes, said Miss Friz. This storm isn't done yet. The light show is just getting started. And then we have, right here, one of our little cue cards, and it says, how far away is that lightning? Do the numbers and find out, by Wanda. First, count the seconds between the flash of lightning and the crack of thunder. Then divide by 5. The answer is the number of miles between where you are and where the lightning struck. 15 seconds divided by 5 equals 3 miles away. So that's pretty interesting to do. I remember being little and counting the seconds in between lightning and thunder. Okay. Chapter 8. Wasn't one lightning bolt enough? I sure thought so, but I guess our cloud had other ideas. Crack! Boom! A flash of lightning shot between the top of the cloud and the bottom of it. It lit up the whole cloud. The roaring clap of thunder that followed made us all cover our ears. There it is again, said Charlie. That's the same kind of lightning I saw before. Ralphie frowned. That lightning didn't go anywhere near the ground, he said. It never left the cloud. Only about 1 out of every 5 lightning bolts strikes the ground, Miss Frizzle told us. All the rest travel from one cloud to another or between different parts of the same cloud. Miss Frizzle reached into the zippered pocket of her protective suit. She pulled out another diagram and held it up for us to see. And here's the cue card. Lightning, Where and When by Ralphie. Lightning strikes somewhere on the earth every second. In the United States, lightning strikes the ground 15 to 20 million times a year. Lightning occurs more often in Florida with its warm, moist climate than anywhere else in the United States. Wow, said Carlos. That's some pretty striking information. Charlie took one look at Miss Frizzle's chart and started to write notes in DA's notebook. So that lightning just happens when a stepped leader travels from a negatively charged part of the cloud to a positive part of the same cloud, right? Charlie said. The Friz nodded. You're really charged with weather facts now, Mr. Nimbus, she said. But I want to know more, said Charlie. He couldn't seem to get enough. Maybe Charlie might achieve his ambition after all. As we zoomed around the center of our atom, he looked at DA's weather notebook. What about cloud-to-cloud lightning and sheet lightning? Can we see them too? Arnold groaned and buried his head in his hands. With all these different kinds of lightning around, we're going to be toast. Lightning is dangerous, Arnold, Miss Frizzle admitted. Now tell us, said Arnold. Now she tells us, said Arnold. But, the Friz went on, there are more ways people can keep safe in thunderstorms. And right here it says, Miss Frizzle's tips for staying safe during a thunderstorm. If you're inside or can get inside, stay inside, don't use the phone, keep away from electrical appliances and outlets, plumbing fixtures, and other metal objects. Believe it or not, the metal plumbing and wiring in all the walls of the house form a protective barrier. That's because lightning travels on the surface of the metal. It can't reach objects inside the network of metals. As long as you stay inside during thunderstorms, and as long as you don't touch any metal, you will be safe. It says if you are outside, keep away from water, Take shelter in a car with a metal roof. The metal of the car will form a protective barrier. If there's no shelter, crouch down on both feet in a low, dry place. Do not take shelter underneath a tree. Tall objects such as trees attract lightning. All right. I sure was glad to know how to keep safe in a thunderstorm, but we weren't exactly normal kids in a normal storm right then. We were electrons. Maybe there's a silver lining to this thundercloud, Carlos said. People say that lightning never strikes in the same place twice. We've already hit the ground with lightning once, so maybe we're safe. D.A. turned to a page of her book about weather. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but lightning can strike the same place more than once, she said. Did I really need to hear that? No way. I sure would like to get away from here, I said. Say 20 or 10 or 20 miles away. We'd have to get further than that to steer clear of lightning, Keisha, Miss Frizzle informed me. Lightning can hit the ground as far as 40 miles away from a storm, and once it strikes, it can spread out more than 50 feet. So detecting and tracking storms is more than just a way for meteorologists to get on TV, said Charlie. It's a way to help people stay safe. Now you're looking on the sunny side of things, Mr. Nimbus, said Miss Frizzle. I was glad our protective suits were keeping us safe. Winds carried us past half a dozen different bolts of lightning inside the cloud. We rammed into so many atoms I lost count. This atom has gained a lot of electrons, Charlie commented. Look, we're sinking down to the bottom of the cloud. As we floated downward, I kept looking for the magic school bus. I had enough of the electric life. Too bad all I saw were more and more negatively charged atoms crowding around us. The bus was nowhere to be found. Yippee! Charlie bounced and jostled against all the electrons, waving D.A.'s notebook in the air. My meteorology teacher never told me rubbing elbows with electrons could be so exciting. It's electric, said Tim, but Tim didn't have a chance to finish his sentence. Whoosh! A stream of electrons shot down from the bottom of the thundercloud. It's another stepped ladder, D.A. said, and we're part of it. Not again, groaned Arnold. Not that we could do anything to stop the step leader from taking us with it. We zigzagged down toward the ground so fast that it was hard to see straight. Hey, Tim looked down and pointed. There's the Channel 6 news station. I managed to spot the building sitting all by itself on top of a hill. Whoa, I said, blinking. A streamer just jumped up from that antenna on the news station roof. That's a streamer, all right, the Frizz agreed. But that pole isn't an antenna. It's a lightning rod. Charlie flipped through D.A.'s notebook. It says here that once a streamer makes contact with a stepped leader, Charlie said, electrons flow super fast to make a bolt of lightning. Miss Nimbus, you're showing a stroke of genius for weather, said the Frizz. She didn't have time to tell Charlie any more about it. At that moment, the streamer and the stepped leader met. Uh-oh, I said. Then everything went white hot. Oh, boy. All right, chapter 9. This is our last chapter. Get ready for a megawatt dose of heat, light, sound, energy, said Carlos. I wasn't ready the first time. I'm definitely not ready now, Arnold said. All at once, we were surrounded by superb bright light and a hot blast of heat. The roaring boom of thunder came, making me feel as if we'd fall right out of the sky. This was too much. All I could do was clamp my hands over my ears and close my eyes, waiting for it to end. Then, in an instant, it was over. The air felt cool, wet. The only sound I heard was the heavy patter of rain and hail falling. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes. Hey, we're back in the parking lot of the Channel 6 news station, I said. The magic school bus is here too, said Phoebe. Our protective suits and goggles were gone. We were all regular size again, and so was the magic school bus. It was parked in the lot right next to us. Rain and hail pelted down from above, but we were so dazed we just stood there getting wet. Charlie shook his head and blinked a few times. He stared at the smoke that rose up from the lightning rod. Did we just turn into a thundercloud and zap down here in a bolt of lightning? Charlie asked. He looked kind of confused and as if he couldn't quite believe that he had said maybe it was just a dream. I didn't blame him for being puzzled. The first time I went on one of Frizz's field trips, I had a hard time believing it was real too. Just look at Charlie's hair, Wanda whispered to me. That's definite proof that he's been zapped. She wasn't kidding either. Charlie's hair wasn't just frizzy, it stuck straight up from the top of his head. We all turned as the door to the news station banged open. Half a dozen people piled out of the station. They gaped at the smoking lightning rod, all talking at once. Wow, did you see that lightning? I thought the sky was going to split open. That lightning made a direct hit to the lightning rod. They looked really worried when they saw us standing outside that storm. But Miss Frizzle told them we were all right. Getting up close and personal with thunder and lightning has been a wonderfully electric experience, said the Frizz. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Nimbus? Charlie flashed his sparkling white teeth. Absolutely, he said. He handed D.A. her notebook and turned to the studio executives. This thunderstorm was sudden, but as aspiring meteorologists know, cumulonimbus clouds can form fast in as little as 30 minutes. Those studio executives sure weren't laughing at Charlie now. They listened closely as he went on to talk about water vapor, cloud formation, the static electricity that builds up inside cumulonimbus clouds. When he was done, the studio executives talked seriously among themselves. I went over to Charlie and said, You sound like a serious weather forecaster now, Mr. Nimbus. But, well, you might want to fix your hair before your next camera test. Charlie glanced at his reflection in the side mirror of the magic school bus. Having a bad hair day doesn't bother me anymore, he said. Nice looking hair isn't nearly as interesting as tracking and forecasting the weather. A big smile spread across Miss Frizzle's face. I can see that our road trip has cleared up some weather issues for you, Mr. Nimbus, she said. From now on, I'm sure you'll be dedicated to completely accurate forecast. Apparently, the studio executives thought so too. As they led Charlie back inside the studio to continue his job interview, we heard him saying, I'm planning to go back to school and learn even more about weather. I think education is so important, don't you? We were right behind them. We were finally going to get our tour of the Weather Center. Everyone had a great time. We even got to stand in front of the camera and see ourselves on the TV weather map. That was when I noticed that Charlie wasn't the only one whose hair had been zapped. We all had gotten a charge from Miss Frizzle's field trip. Our field trip had definitely been electrifying. I knew that we would never forget it. The end. Here's a picture of them with their zap frizzled hair. So it sounds like they had a very interesting trip, and I hope you guys really enjoyed the book. Let's see, next month we're going to start on a book, and it is called Babe and Me, and it is about baseball. I love baseball, and I thought it's that time of year, so I hope you guys join me then, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks.